Welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcast.
So, Joe, you now have custody of Ryan Luck. So I need you to
Yeah.
sign like right
Listen,
down here.
right. I
I
don't
need you
even
to sign right down
I
here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Denial's the first
Nothing
step, Joe.
nothing
Denial's the
happens.
first step. Don't
I
get
don't
me wrong.
I don't even know
I
why we're
did
having a
touch that.
podcast, Ryan. Ryan, I don't know why we're having a podcast, okay? Because we didn't
Do
even
you
have an
really want
episode
me to
yesterday.
talk for an hour, Joe? And you'd be like, I don't know. Do you really want me? Let's face it, you balance me out when it comes to like the thing. Um,
uh I mean, we can pretend an episode happens, but I don't know. I think they're just going up from
what
episode two to
about the
four.
rest of the season when she's not there, Joe?
When who's not there?
I love this is how crazy this is. Joe is acting more harshly or more in denial and more upset than when Jay Maya got eliminated. Well, how I was.
Yeah.
Joe was in straight up denial, being like, nothing happened, this is bullshit. Um, don't get me
I
wrong. I wasn't too thrilled that Asia went too, because I feel like, especially because of the Survivor podcast, I just feel super bad because that's been a big part of her life for so long.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And she definitely didn't deserve this. It felt like
no.
it okay, I'm just gonna say that four who seemed together on Lavo easily could have prevented Asia going out here by just simply doing a 2-2-2 split votes on Rome and Genevieve. And then whoever they vote for, then it just ties, and then you just revote on whoever doesn't Rome get the idol for. But apparently
Yeah,
they couldn't think about that. They just said, no, we just can't do Rome or Genevieve.
I think the tricky thing is they were worried about his steal a vote. And I mean, like, that's what we saw too. Like, Teeny was like, all right, Rome has another advantage. Guess I should probably work with him. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, I
Well,
think it
yeah,
was
but
one of those.
you pretend you're working with him. I mean, he clearly, he doesn't have the best reads on how people are feeling about him. Like, he thought he's been in a good position, but like everyone keeps saying, like, Rome's going off to do this, and it kind of annoys them. And I don't think he realizes that. So I feel like it would have been very easy to agree with Rome and and then at tribal council then do your actual plan.
Yeah, I do think, I don't know if it's a mistake or not. We just have to see how it plays out further down the road. But yeah, it was one of those things where even Teeny, when they were talking about it, it was like, all right, Rome keeps coming to me with this information. You know, it's like I think in their position in Kushan, it's like more so it's like, well, what does each side bring to the table? And right now, the thing is, it's like because Rome keeps finding these advantages or puts himself in situations where he'll be able to find it, it's like you might as well align with that person because at least you know where it is and you know it won't be used against you. Um, because the steal a vote, especially now that it's coming to five, can be even more dangerous. I do agree, like if Teeny and that group really wanted to solidify everything, um, they should have done the 2-2-2 thing, and then obviously in revotes it'll be fine. But I don't know, maybe there was something like I think another thing when Asia was being a little, and like Tini even questioned this too, and I think that's what partially went to Asia's elimination over Seoul because it was going to be Seoul.
Yeah.
Was the fact that when Tini approached her about the plan and stuff like that, Asia was just straight up refusing, like, no, I'm not voting.
Yeah.
Soul out. No, I'm not doing this. And it's
Yeah.
okay to lie on Survivor, guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the game.
Yeah.
You can
Especially,
lie.
yeah, I mean, also, like, if anyone ever approaches you and says you're potentially the vote, but here's your way to get out of it, agree. Just agree. Just what?
Yes.
And then if you want to maybe try to think about doing something else, you don't do it in that moment when the people are trying to give you a bone, because that's going to just, that like that's basically saying please vote me out instead. That is.
Especially because when you know that, it's like, okay, because I know they were worried about shot in the darks and even like burning their shot in the darks here and kind of like so that way they don't have to worry about it at the next tribal council because obviously when one of them went, they accused the other to be like, oh, I'm on the bottom. I probably need to use my shot in the dark next tribal council.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, it really sucked, Asia. Yeah, I thought she added so much, like she had so much in the first episode too. They gave her
Same.
13 or yeah, it was 13, right? Yeah, 13 confessionals in episode 1. And
Yeah.
then it's like, what was that for? Just to be the third boot of the season?
I think maybe they're trying to subvert expectations when it comes to the winner. Like in the sense of like one thing that I think at least early Squid Game the challenge did was it would like give a lot of screen time to people that were relevant in the moment and stuff, and then when they're eliminated, made it more surprising. I'd say as you kind of like went on, you did kind of like be like, oh, this person's getting more screen time. They're probably going to be elimination in the next twist or game.
Yeah.
Uh, so maybe they were trying to also experiment with that, especially because I mean, the show knows obviously who Asia is and like, that she is a name in the
Uh,
Survivor podcasting world. Especially because she's tied to Rob. Um, so yeah. I think it was one of the things too, it was like to give her her due diligence, in the sense of like get her screen time because she is important to like the super fans of Survivor. Like she is like a face where, you know, even like Teeny, who was a big fan, was like, "Oh my gosh, I really want to work with you," and was like hyped. But yeah, I think that's the thing too. Like I feel like a lot of or granted, it's only been two, but a lot of like I would say surface level like favorites going into this. Like I know that John was going to be a big person coming in that a lot of people would be behind. And Asia, obviously, her being like a super fan of the show, being
uh,
a podcaster of it, like obviously fans are going to root for
yeah.
her.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. I mean, so like obviously as an entertainer, like I do think about fan perception as well, like how fans are going to perceive the season. And I would, if I was out there, not want to vote Asia until at least the jury, because I just know that there's going to be fan backlash for it going out this early. Like there are some people who are like, she's our, like, I don't care about anyone else. I'm rooting for Asia. And now there's going to be people who are pretty upset that she's out in episode 3 here.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously. The thing is, it's like it wasn't an easy thing for Teeny to do. It wasn't, it wasn't like,
I mean,
Asia would
Tina didn't
Asia
even
was
vote.
not even her first target, not even her
Yeah,
second target. It was like fourth. It was like, all right, I really want to work with Keyshawn. Now I have this four with Asia and Soul. All right, Rome has the thing. Rome has another thing. Okay, originally I thought, okay, if not Rome, Jen, but because Rome is more powerful in this game, I might want to use that. We're going to flip on Soul. Okay, it doesn't look like Aisha is down with that. Can I really trust her? All right. It was like literally all four targets of like people that are not Keyshawn. It's like,
uh,
nope, nope, nope. Okay.
yeah,
Just lost that round of musical chairs she did.
yeah. Teeny though didn't even vote for Asia. She still voted for Soul. So
She knew where the numbers were though.
yeah, yeah. We'd assume that she does. I mean, she was brought information, but maybe there. Who knows? Maybe next episode we'll find out that Soul was still like who TD wanted to go for, but then Kishan, Rome, and Genevieve decided to go for Asia instead. Who knows?
I think the tough thing with this one was they were definitely worried about shot in the darks, especially like even and it was kind of like a funny thing, funny part of the episode too, where Soul was like, being talked to by Rome and everything, and it was like, yeah, you're just not making me trying to feel safe, right? So I don't play my shot in the dark. And then Rome keeps talking, talking, trying to like justify, like, no, 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 we need you because of strength. I mean, you've been carrying us in challenges and stuff, and keep
Uh-huh.
going on. And then it kind of like alerted Soul. It was like, yeah, this is sus. Um,
Yeah. Rome's really fun, but he cannot lie. Like, and every time, like, he thinks his lying is bringing up the information that he's lying about, as if that's going to be what is going to sell the lie. But it's like he does it so much where it's just like, okay, well, this feels like you've rehearsed. You told yourself if I say this a bunch, then that's going to become reality. But it's
yeah, I would say in his case, maybe less would be more, but
yeah,
you know, it's also early survival. It's also their first tribal council too. This is where there is an art. There is something that said where this was like, have you really ever played Survivor? If you haven't played Survivor until you got into tribal council. Do you agree with that statement?
I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, I
I
went to tribal council because I wanted to play.
I feel like yes, you would, especially I feel like yeah, I think that's just part of the game. Obviously, you
Yeah,
can't avoid it forever. Even if you have a winning streak all throughout and then go to merge, and I'm not even talking like an entire team,
yeah,
just like even if you as a player just happen to be on a team or happen to be on teams that just don't go, and
yeah,
then it just so happens like you know what happened to like Joe Anglim and Keith Nail, where they just weren't in a thing until then.
yeah.
The thing is, it's like you can only avoid tribal council for so long. And that's really only up until like earn the merge or
Mhm.
pre-merge or earn the merge
Yeah,
or, merge.
yeah. It's basically a camping trip until you go to tribal council. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what it is. You got to go eventually. And ideally, you have people kind of come together and create a collective in one or two tribal councils so that way go to the merge you're kind of like a tight group. So we're gonna see it. There's kind of a want for a tight group here, but also like Soul I feel is not happy about what went down as
No.
well. Um he's probably gonna have to be the next one to go if they do go again. I mean, who knows? Maybe they want to try to go for Rome. But also if Rome and Genevieve are apparently this tight duo, which when did that happen? I mean, we have
We don't really see it in the edit. We
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, apparently they're the super tight duo that is, needs to get broken up.
Even
Um
like the one confessional Genevieve got, it was kind of like more so like, yeah, Rome is getting fish right now, and like, and it was not in like a mocking way, but it was more like that is his big contribution to the tribe, and he's making a big deal out of it.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah.
How is it that they went to tribal and Genevieve got one confessional? I'll let you know. She got one confessional from
It is the Ryan. Well, it is because I chose her as my winner pick. That is
yeah.
solely why.
Yeah, it's not looking great for her chances of the season. I mean, maybe she was far, like that's still possible, but like win equity is
Yeah,
on the
I
floor right
know.
now.
Well, I mean, like right now I have some decent odds going into like winner pick because for
You
the
have more
past
people.
I have more people. You lost three people in a row, which I believe I achieved in 42, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I will say though, this might be the roughest first three gone though, because they're my second, third, and fourth pick.
Yes, that too.
So
Um, I mean,
I'm
just looking at your
basically I'm screwed over here.
especially because I mean, I know we're focusing a lot on, Asia's elimination and the Lavo tribe, but like that was like one of the biggest parts of the episode. But like previous to that, if we're looking on like who's on the bottom of each respective tribe, I feel like you just want the blue tribe to go because or the Tuku tribe to go because This was a terrible episode for Kyle. Like
Yeah.
he is on the bottom. He he lost his vote. He didn't risk his vote to try and get the advantage the second time. The thing is, it's like he
Yeah.
should know that he's screwed next time he goes to tribal council.
Yeah.
Um, like I was like, well, why didn't you try and go for an advantage? The thing is, you're screwed either way.
Yeah.
You might as well try to
It's
get the
because
advantage out of
he
it.
thought that he maybe is going to turn Sue into voting Gabe, which is just not going to happen. But
So
he thinks that he can, which is the problem. So
yeah,
yeah.
now he's kind of in a Banu situation where it's like he can't even use his shot in the dark because he doesn't have a vote to wager.
Yeah. 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 I also I mean Annika's on my team. She's my number 5, so that would also be
Getting to her too.
hilarious if she ends up go because she's also in a lot of danger over there with no
Very much
votes.
so.
Clearly the person on the bottom. It's crazy how like when they went to the journey, it was the 3 people on the bottom who all went, who like perceived were the ones who the tribe wanted to go to get out next. Um,
Yeah.
like come
They kind of
okay,
just let that
come on.
happen too.
Yeah, come on. Okay, if this is a note for anyone going on Survivor again. If you are in the majority alliance of your tribe, you hold a vote to see who goes to the journey, and you vote in someone from your alliance. And if the people on the minority have a problem with that, say tough tits. You're not. You don't get to decide now, and you just vote off and you vote someone from your alliance to go there. You do not let someone from the minority go. Now, it worked out in a way for 2 groups this time, but it did also mean that Rome got extra power, which made people want to work with Rome. So,
It literally changed the course of the game on the Lobo tribe.
yeah, so this is a warning for everyone who is going out there again. That's what
I
you
think
should
the
be
tough
thinking to
thing
do.
I think the tough thing with that though is like you at least if you're on the bottom, you have some plausible deniability that you're not really on the bottom. And if there's a public vote, then that triggers you off. The thing is, it's like people are afraid of the shot in the
Oh,
duck,
you're
even
you're you're
even
breaking
though
up.
the statistics for that to work.
Ryan, you're cutting out. I don't you're stuck in this one like pose over here like this. Now I can't even hear you. Perfect. A lot of great technical stuff. Yeah, I mean, I do. I'll just start speaking on this. I do get to one aspect of like also you don't want to make it clear who the votes are, but like if you especially with the blue and yellow tribe, they needed to like they already know kind of where the numbers are, so they definitely should have been able to uh
Angle
talk.
it.
Yeah, and this is not something that you decide when the boat is there. This is something that you decide, you know, when you're with your group talking about any strategy and stuff like that. Like that's when you would bring up like, hey, if we see a boat, let's try to do this, especially if you have a likable person who is just kind of like everyone kind of likes, like you just say this person in our alliance who's very likable, let's do a vote and we'll just all try to get everyone to agree on this person
I think
because
the
of that.
thing is you don't want to cue off the person, whoever the people on the bottom are, because if they really want to go and you're like, so I feel like you kind of have to roll the dice with the randomness because that way, because like you also reveal your numbers, stuff like that. And we even saw, if you feel like you're on the bottom, you're gonna throw people under the bus, in that tribe. Like, we saw Rome like being like, oh yeah, Asia, Seoul, they're controlling everything over there. Um, which is going to be funny when they go to the next immunity challenge because Asia's gone, and so that kind of cues off to everyone. It's like, well, was she really in control, or was Rome just talking?
Mhm.
Um, because like when the merge tribe happens, everyone's going to be fact checking their notes. But yeah,
Yeah, Yeah, maybe. I just feel like if you're in any kind of majority, you should be looking to not let a minority because that's what
No, you
that's when
shouldn't.
it becomes where they actually have power. Like they can get upset and maybe something happens there, but there's more chances that something happens if they go out and get something that they can literally use to change the game.
Yeah, I know. I was literally in this position, heroes
Yeah.
versus villains, where we didn't know what the Summit Challenge did. And Jen was supposed to be the first one to go home. And then
Uh,
Jen's like, let me go. You guys are going to vote me out first anyway. And I'm like, we're trying. And then, other people were like, hey, let's let her go. It's the people that were like against the chatter boxes. But also, like, they were like, guys, we cannot let her do this. Are you fucking serious? And I'm like, good work, everyone. Thankfully, it was just like, the little twist where you can either save someone or put a vote on someone and
uh,
not an actual idol because I would have been fucked. I would have been like, you know, because I was Jen's target. So I was like,
mhm,
so I get where you're coming from. I would say, like, but in a long-term game like that, it's a little trickier
mhm.
um than that because like I'm comparing a mini to like a long form game, the actual show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can debate about it because both sides, it can be a lose lose situation depending on it. As everything is with Survivor, it depends on how you are in the game, who you're with. Um, if you feel like you're, in a tight four in your alliance, and it feels like everyone likes each other, and this is a great four, absolutely you should do a vote. But if you're in a situation where, maybe you haven't gone to a vote, you're not sure, people are talking to everyone, that's when it becomes a little more like randomness. Like you can do randomness because you're not sure. Um, but I do think Gata and the Tuku definitely should have been a little more not letting Kyle and Annika go. I think they have a little more maybe less so Annika because apparently Annika and Rachel are also a duo. I didn't know about that either. That's new information that
You
happened that
didn't pick
just
that up.
no, I didn't think that they were like this tight duo. I got more that Rachel and Andy were closer than Rachel and Annika.
Joe, I know you pretended that this episode didn't happen, but like
Yeah.
it's something where, especially because
When
it was even,
when in the first two episodes were they mentioned?
I wouldn't say it was like mentioned, but it was heavily implied in the second episode, where it's
Ooh.
like, those two are seemed as a duo because like Sierra is really close with, well, because when there was five, Sierra was really close with Sam, and Sam also has this thing with Andy, and so like that automatically makes a trio.
Oh.
Therefore, the two on the
Oh,
outs, the
it's
two people that think they're in control.
that's why I never believe when it's just like, oh, these two are a duo. That means these two people must be a duo because that's that kind of implication. Whereas we haven't heard anything from Annika or Rachel saying, "I like this person because of this." It has
It could
been,
be the fact that they haven't gotten that screen time yet. However, it's like regardless whether they're a tight duo or a duo, the thing is it's like on the tribe they know. And that is
yeah,
and with the editing and stuff, it's like, all right, so Sam will be the one that tells us this. The thing is, they're a duo regardless because they're on the outs. I do feel like, especially with just how things are panning out, because this episode for them, like the first bit of stuff we saw with them was them complaining about the shelter, which honestly makes sense because it's going to be uncomfortable. And especially after last season when a contestant was eliminated because the shelter, just how they were sleeping on the bamboo, had a pinched nerve. I can understand being a little trigger or like wanting to make sure like we can make it a little bit more comfortable and more safe if you can.
uh,
Um,
yeah.
but
I feel
yeah, I know
like
that was like
I feel like they could have sent Sam out to do fishing and then had everyone
They could have.
else do that. Like you don't need to
There's
have
five
everyone.
people on that beach. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's some elements where it's like I kind of get why Sam wouldn't want to be the only one off doing fishing because maybe like some strategy talk might end up happening and suddenly he's on the outs out of nowhere because that can sometimes end up happening. So maybe he wants someone else out there with him fishing, but I don't know. I feel like they just don't know how to run a camp. It feels like there's a lot of that we're getting from that tribe. They're now good in challenges, after they've only lost one
Yeah.
challenge. So um
Even the reward one in the beginning. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're doing pretty good in that, but for whatever reason, they just do not know how to run a camp life on Survivor.
Yeah. I think that's always thing. It's like when people are out there for the first time. It's a different experience. And I know we're gonna get to that with the immunity challenge a little bit. But I mean it's always more different when you're practically doing it because like unless you've practiced making a shelter, for a lot of people, even if they looked up videos, this is like their first time doing it. Um, so I think that's one thing to always kind of like bear in mind. Some people are better at it than others, especially if like these people are like carpenters or like construction workers, like we've seen with
Mhm.
or furniture makers, like we've seen with Wendell, like we've seen with Boston Rob, where or even like Hunter from last season, where they're good with their hands, they're crafty, and so they've made some stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but not everyone has that skill set.
Yeah.
Uh, one other
Yeah.
thing, we talked about fishing. We got to talk about Rome and him
Yeah.
catching the fish. Um, I will say that eating eating half the fish is still a ballsy thing. I understand, like, the people should be grateful for any kind of fucking food they get, especially because it's a tough, it's tougher this season because you guys don't even get rice
Yeah.
or beans or anything like that. Any food you get, be thankful, even if it's like a fish the size of like like the fish size of like the palm of your hand or something. It's like that's more than you are already getting.
Yeah.
So it's like it'd be a little helpful because like you guys are not going out there and fishing. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough because like if I was out there, I don't know if I'd actually want to be the person going out to do the fishing because either you're going to kill it and bring in a lot of stuff, or you're going to have just a little bit, and if no one is grateful with just a little bit, it's a weird situation where um when people think of people who go out there and do fishing and are the ones in charge of that, they like to think of the Aussies. They like to think of the Richard Hatches, the people who get a lot of fish for their tribe and like sustain them. So if you go out there and you're not at that level, it doesn't matter how how like you have to hit like a certain quota. Otherwise, it's kind of like, oh wow, you're not as good as these people. So well, what are you doing taking the fishing gear?
True. I think that's more of a thing about the players as opposed to like the person that goes out fishing. It's like, y'all, we're starving. Be grateful.
Yeah. Listen, there's going to be
Especially in the new era. You're not
everyone
given
in
anything.
Survivor is looking for any little thing, and that is the perfect little thing to start conversations with about why maybe you don't like this person. Like when you want to like say, hey, let's vote out Rome. Maybe you don't start off with let's vote out Rome. Let's go, man. I can't believe Rome ate half of the fish and he only caught four of them, and
Yeah.
like
That
that's
was
the
kind of
kind of stuff.
that was a shitty thing. Maybe he was a little too comfortable
Yeah,
because it's also like eating two of the fish. I understand like you're the one that caught the fish, and we've seen this on Survivor before, where it's like, I caught this fish. You didn't do shit, so I'm gonna
yeah,
eat my fill.
yeah.
Um, because if people are being ungrateful, you know, and I understand where he's coming from. It was like, listen, I know it's not much, but it is something. Um, I especially if you suspect the person has advantages, or if you
Mhm.
know the person has advantages,
Yeah.
let them know. It's like, it's like more so of like, if they're the one that is like eating two fish and stuff like that, don't tip them off that you're annoyed or ungrateful.
Mhm.
You can have those discussions behind their back, which, they did. But also don't try and cue it to them that, that they're not doing a good enough job.
Mhm.
Also, I gotta say, the fact that he accidentally spat like a bone or like a scale onto Asia was so like
Yeah.
it's like rubbing salt in the wounds.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
come on.
yeah, and him eating it
Yeah.
right in front of her.
Well, it's
It's
like
good.
has Rome it's also like has Rome presented himself as someone to give a shit about being polite and whatnot? It's like, no, this man went into the fish or went into the water well to get a key and stuff, and then when that happened, he like just ran away. You
Mhm.
know, you got to understand like where what kind of people are you're dealing with here.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, let's see. What else was there? Oh yeah, real quick. When the Tugu tribe got back from tribal council. This is like pretty much the beginning episode. I definitely 100% called it. They did the flashback of the 46 players all getting voted out with idols in their pockets. And I just want to say I totally
Hmm.
called that. That is exactly Gabe's reasoning for why he played it on himself, which is
Yeah,
I don't think the greatest reasoning. I think if you are reactive like that, that is not a good because I think that there's
yeah,
a better strategical moves and he chose
there
not to
was.
do them because he was scared. Um, so, but I just want to say, I just wanted to call out like I think it's going to happen a lot. I mean, clearly we saw with like Roman Sam getting the one tribal council idols because they just want to make sure that they're not getting voted out with idols in their pockets. I think we're going to see that with every idol in this game. It's going to be
Yeah.
they're gonna just want to use it as quick as possible.
We'll see how that works because I know this is one of the few times where the beware advantage was used prior to like the merge portion.
Mhm.
Like because like the only other time something like that has even happened, it wasn't even that it was used. It was just that like I believe his name was Brad or Bradley, the
Brad,
dude in 41, the country guy,
yeah, Brad Reese.
Brad Reese. Where he got the beware advantage and he just simply couldn't activate it at the time and he got voted out, so they re-hit it.
Yeah,
But that was also because it was tied with other ones. Like if someone got eliminated with it, then they can't say the password. Um,
yeah. Yeah, that one had
so
some problems because that meant that everyone every camp had to have their idol ready before it could be used, which uh
yeah,
was definitely it had some interesting entertaining TV, in terms of them having to say dumb phrases, but yeah,
yeah,
definitely sucked for broccoli Brad.
broccoli brat. But no, so like I don't know if they re-hit it. I think there is a
Mhm.
possibility they may have. If not, like, the thing is, it was like we didn't get too much of the Tuku tribe apart from, yeah, Kyle's on the bottom. He's trying to find a way in. Um, and then also with, I mean, obviously the idol was just used on the Lavo tribe. So we won't
Mhm.
know until next episode if it's hidden again because, like,
Yeah.
Rome was even like, yeah, I'll just wait until like dusk or something like that when we get back, like a couple hours at dawn try and go searching for it again.
Mhm. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still there. And now, depending on how far the challenges got, like in terms of them having to get the idols and all that stuff, that whatever is left is kind of like what they're kind of gonna get if you rediscover it. So, for instance, the Lavu tribe. Rome only got the one tribal council, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's now like only two challenges you have to do there. One to make it a 3-day idol, and then one that will make it a full-time idol. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if stuff like that is now in it. Where games, it's probably now it might just be a full idol if you go out there and do one challenge, complete one challenge. Because Gabe redid it. He did two of them, so
Yeah.
like that, because they probably already have a lot of that stuff like pretty much set up and like decided. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to just be like, okay, let's just uh have them now go ahead and do this challenge instead.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
We'll find out next time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think other than those things, oh, also the whole thing of like how perception is kind of funny that they thought Sierra and Sam were a couple.
Yeah.
Um, which I get it. They're two attractive people. They're on a
Yep.
beach. They're the same age. They're also in a strong final two with or strong, tight two alliance. So like obviously some attention might be on them. And
Mhm.
especially like you make assumptions on different tribes. So it's like, oh, these two are probably they're young, they're attractive, they're probably,
Yeah.
they're probably in a showman's.
Yeah. You also have so much time out there to talk. Like you're
Yeah.
going to talk about just whatever little thing that is kind of in your vicinity, and that is something that's is probably an easy conversation topic of
Yeah.
who's having a showmance this season, and then those two probably are top of line.
Yeah. And I think like you do wonder about the other people that are playing as well, even if you're not on the same team. It's like, I wonder what kind of or you make assumptions like, I wonder like it's like is Asia really running that tribe? It was like, oh, Soul is probably like the, you know, like the sole provider, no pun intended, just as I said it.
Uh,
Um, or like you're looking on the thing, it was like, oh, like Sue is probably like, um kind of like the mafia boss over there or something. Like she does give off mafia boss energy, I will
mhm.
say. Sue does.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sue is such an old school player. I know she's the older
Yeah.
player, but she really is like, taking things super personally about getting voted for is like such an old school mentality. Like, if even some of the
Fuck,
older
I would
play,
too.
so some of the older players, even in modern seasons, like they can get voted for, and then they'll like try to be like a little more like, okay, but we'll see. Maybe we can get, maybe we can do something. But it seems like for her, she was like, fuck no, Kyle, you are on my shit list until the end of time.
I was gonna go home regardless, so I think it's just
Yeah,
more so like, yeah, you also voted for me, so like you were
yeah,
willing for me to go home first. So I'm not, yeah, like the thing is, it's like a vote against you is a vote against you.
yeah.
The only person that was able to get away with it was last season with was when Ben just like confused on everything voted for Kenzie. And even then she was like, "You dork, you freaking now I'm not going to go in with zero votes against me. Dang it." Um
Mhm.
and like even then it was more so like, that brushed over real quick. Other than that, pretty much, you know, if you get a vote against you, that person is willing to lose you. Even if they know like, oh, if I play this or oh, if something is played on me, it's like, well, if for whatever reason I am safe or something, this person goes home. So
Mhm.
it's like I think you take votes personally because it's like even if you're like the safety vote, that means people are okay with you going home. Like, uh because like Jen getting a vote, that might be like, huh, I wonder who did that. Or Soul getting a vote, like he knows that he's on the bottom. Or like that's the thing. It's like if you know you were getting votes, that means like your name is out there too. And you don't want your name out there. And I think that's something we can both agree on. It's like the less you hear your name at tribal council, especially early on, the better because like and we've
Yeah.
seen it's not even just a mutual thing with Survivor, also Big Brother. A lot of reasons why people get put on the block again is because, a person doesn't want to make a move and it's just easier to put someone that's already nominated,
Mhm.
has been nominated.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that you don't want to close a door because there's a chance that there's a world where Sue ended up working with Kyle and takes Kyle to the end. He becomes the ghost, she gets the end and wins. Like there are those worlds. And I know that it's like there's so many things that happen in between there, but at the end of the day, that there's a chance that her working with Gabe and Caroline does make her get to the end and not be able to win. Whereas there's her being able to work with other people might create that path. But if you are so like adamant that this person voted for me once on a first tribal council, who was just like was told a name and that was it. Um, if that is kind of like what does stop you from working with people, that does limit your options moving forward.
As long as she doesn't let Kyle know. That's the thing.
It seems like
People can
she kind of did.
people can change their minds. People change their minds all the time. So like I mean like if they go again pre-merge, yeah, that's the thing. But it's like when they go into merge or earn the merge, you play the court from there.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've talked pretty much enough about all of that stuff. How about we just get into the challenge?
Yeah. Um so one person had to sit out, and it was Genevieve.
Hmm.
We did see her trying to like look for an advantage on a bench, and I
Yeah.
think that's just something you do
Yeah.
because they have done it not in just in the new era, but even in 30, 32, or no, 34, they had that.
Yeah.
I
It
think
was
it's
the
just
first time that she's played the game this season. Was doing
yeah,
that. That was the first strategy that we saw from Genevieve.
yeah. I mean like the thing is like there's just not a whole bunch of attention on her, and I think that's the thing too. I'm pretty sure she is strategizing and doing stuff, but we just haven't really seen it because a lot of the attention hasn't been on her.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like this one, they even started off where it was like, "Hey, you're going to be swimming, Keyshawn. I don't know. I just learned how to swim for this. Who's sitting out? Jen." And Jeff was even like, "Dude, you just said that this guy just learned how to swim." He was like, "Yeah." And then that's the tribe that ended up losing. I don't think it was due to
No.
Keyshawn's lack of not being able to swim. I don't think it was like, I think the thing is, not too many people are akin to, before they go out on Survivor, learning to swim in the ocean during a
Hmm.
challenge for speed.
Yeah.
Um, it's and like even if you're training to swim better, it's much different than in a like a lap pool or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean it's intimidating. Like I know how to swim, but still like you never know what's going to happen, Also there's like that exhaustion thing of not eating a lot that does play a factor. Like,
Yeah,
when you think of swimming, you think of, you've had a meal that day, you're in a good mindset. They're out there with none of that. They are and they're having to do this huge giant challenge with the balancing and all this stuff and pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Um
there is.
so there's definitely a lot more to it than just swimming.
No, I get it,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
This is also one of the rare occurrences where we see them strategize beforehand.
Yeah. It was
Um,
the egos of each tribe of everyone had someone who really was confident that they could like do this and kill a certain part of it.
yeah. Um, and even when Rome was saying like, "Hey, I don't want to be partnered with a slow person because like, I don't want that to be like I'm like I get that. I think
Mhm.
you don't flat out say that,
Yeah.
but like be like, be like I'd be more comfortable doing the solo one so I can focus more on my own speed and stuff. I don't think it's a necessarily a bad strat. The thing is it's like it doesn't fundamentally matter who you're partnered up with. The most important person is like, all right, who is the best person to dive down and get the buoy?
um,
Other than that, it's like, everyone else, it's like whoever's the slower swimmer is going to be the slower swimmer. So like even if it was individual, they're still going to be the slowest, swimmer no matter what.
yeah. Yeah, also the buoy wasn't like that low. We've seen it where it's like all the way at the bottom pretty much. This was essentially the first buoy that you would normally see in that kind of challenge where you just kind of go down a little bit and then do it, which Andy still had trouble with. He did not
It did.
he had a pretty bad challenge performance. It seemed like he was costing the Gata tribe, and they were gonna lose.
It looked bad. I mean, I think another thing too, it's like sometimes you can tell who's one of the two tribes that's going to tribal council, mostly because like the screen time they're getting
Yeah,
prior to it.
yeah,
And they, you know, that tribe was getting a lot of screen time, especially with Annika, A, losing her vote, B, not letting Andy know and stuff like that. They were getting a lot of focus. Lavo tribe as well. Like those two were getting a lot more screen time than
yeah,
the Tuku tribe.
yeah. I will say I feel like Survivor spoiled me who was going to tribal council this episode, because in the previously on like Survivor, where they told you all the things that happened in the last episode, it was all on Lavu. And I was like,
Yeah,
why are they like telling us all this stuff?
yeah. It, yeah, that kind of like tipped off. Like I wasn't able to watch that part specifically until this morning,
uh,
because I was out at a place called Reality Bar where they show a lot of reality shows, and they were having tentacle. It wasn't set up prior to when we were watching it, which
uh,
huge no-no. It's like, come
yeah.
on, y'all. Yeah, you advertise this for your bar. We want to keep coming here. Like, come on. Um.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I
mini
feel like
rant.
that's the if you ever want to know who's going to tribal, if they focus on the previously on one tribe, I'm going to say that that's probably the tribe that's most likely, because they're
Yeah,
giving you the information that you need going into this episode, which is
and we see that a lot in a lot of recaps. Like something even like in I'd say Game of Thrones. You'll see like flashbacks and like previously on stuff that was like in the first season that they insinuate. It was like, oh, so this bit of information is going to be relevant to this episode.
yeah,
So yeah, because they didn't fully just recap everything that was happening in episode two. Obviously TK going home, but that was even in itself like a small portion of it.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. That was like they have to include who goes home. Whereas yeah, with the Lavu, I mean, we haven't seen them go to tribal council yet, so it felt like
Yeah.
it really felt like they were just really saying, here's everything that's happened with Lavu in the last two episodes. Get ready because it's happening. Um, in fact, me and my friend Nate, like we literally watched that happen, and we were like, we turned to each other, was like, oh, so the red tribe's going home, or they're going to tribal. Like we both in the beginning of the episode knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Gotta tribe yet again great at the puzzle. That is their strength is on puzzles, as we see it again. And the puzzle was the great equalizer, especially now that TK is gone from the blue tribe, so that he would have probably I don't know how well he can swim, but I'd imagine he would have done pretty good at this kind of challenge of
He's an athletic dude, so
yeah, I'd imagine that he would have gotten them there to the puzzle a little quicker. But who knows? And then I mean, I do think that Scotto would have done even better if John was there instead of Andy, and Andy wouldn't have had to have all those mess ups. I was definitely
I still want you.
I thought that
You're just bitter that he's gone.
yeah, well, but us losing John is not the reason why they've been winning these challenges. That's what I'm saying. And he has not been contributing good in the challenges. And that was their reasoning was a challenges. So
They still been winning, Joe. So
yeah,
like,
I don't know. I think you can be wrong and have the right results. I think those both things can happen.
sure, my life is a good format of that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Gana won, and then Tuku won, and then they would go. We already talked pretty much about everything that went on
Yeah,
with the red tribe there. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
no.
Nope. Okay.
Nothing comes to mind. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Okay. Nice, nice. Well, I guess let's get to our MVPs and LVPs.
MVP, I have to give to Rome. He found
Hmm.
another advantage. He also is someone where he went from being on the bottom and probably the second person eliminated from his tribe to like kind of being like in a tight four, at least for now. Like, thing is, we don't know going forward how things are going to go, but like Sol is pissed being at the bottom. So, we'll see how it goes. But I'd say like overall, this was a more positive thing for him because even if him and Jen are close, if that was the bottom two and they did split, uh, he would have lost his number one and then kind of still be like, he can really do much with a steal a vote if he didn't have the numbers. Because like
Yeah.
if you're in a five-person scenario and you're the one on the outs, you can only steal one person's votes and it's two against three. Whereas
Mhm.
like if you have you and you're, number one, all you have to do is steal one vote and then it's three against two.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
I'd
as
say
as long as
he
he
gets
still
MVP.
works with Genevieve, if that is a duo that actually exists and is not just randomly brought up here because they're going to be broken up pretty soon, which is why I think that I don't trust that duo along with the Rachel and Annika duo because I feel like one of them is going to get taken out pre-merge and we're not going to see the duo actually live long term. Otherwise, we would have gotten more stuff about
Screen
them.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think Rome's MVP just because um I think going into this he was going to play his idol and just let them all decide what was going on, but he actually had a little more agency here. He technically wanted Asia out first, got and then they told him Soul, and he was like, okay, sure, I'll do Soul. Like he was willing to work with them. You see it, which is
Yeah.
something Asia wasn't able to do, which is why she's getting
No.
LVP.
You gave it to Asia. I'm giving it to Annika, where I
Okay.
feel like one, she lost her vote.
Yeah.
Granted, she didn't really have any other choice. I think it's another thing too of like just like her rapport with Sam and everything was just so bad. And it's also like I'm not saying like don't voice concerns because I know like when they were talking about the not just the shelter, but like, how to hang their clothes and stuff like that. It's like, oh, we need more attention, we need this, and then like they're getting into a little beef there. I just feel like it is very bad position for Annika right now, where she
Mhm.
could have been like, and the difference between that and let's say Kyle, he's already on the bottom and like there's really no wiggle room for him. The thing is, Annika, I don't believe she knows she's on the bottom
Yeah.
as well as she doesn't have a vote. And she could have been like Rachel could have been going home next, but now I feel like Annika is just like definitely
Yeah.
going next.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about that scene with her and Sam, with the Sam's upset about how she's running camp and then he's got the
Yeah.
machete and it was so cringy where she's like, okay, you gotta cut this, and so then he starts chopping and then a little bit later she's like,
Saw it.
Wouldn't sawing be a better like
She was
oh
right though, but at the
I
same
mean,
time,
yeah, but how she went about it, like that is
yeah,
more important than being right on Survivor. Is how you go about it.
it's like, you could have easily just been like, what about sawing or
Yeah,
something like that. And just like a different inflection was like, maybe you should try
yeah,
sawing, maybe that might help.
yeah,
There are easier ways to get your point. I know you're starving, you're hungry, you're tired, but like, just make sure you're not short with people because I feel like more so than the fish, those are the things that really can set someone off because it's like the
yeah,
fish, at least they have good intentions. When you're just getting into a hissy fit with someone
yeah,
and you're being passive aggressive, that cues someone more as like, all right, can I actually work with this person
yeah.
moving forward?
Yeah, exactly. I do want to give Kyle, by the way, honorable LVP because I think he at
Should
just
have.
I think he just as much did as much bad as Asia in this episode. Like I think him trying to make a plan against Gabe was a terrible decision. I think out of everyone, Gabe is not the person he should be targeting in that scenario. I know he's kind of there's like honestly he should be looking more at like a Caroline. I feel like
Yeah.
and it's hard to know because you don't know who's all close to each other. But like Gabe and Sue are like this duo, and that we have been told that they are a duo. So I believe that they are going to be in the game at least enough for them to be considered a duo in the merge.
Yeah.
Um, so I know that they're going to be a threat. So you'd want to take out like Caroline, who is part of them, but not as contributing as much as like they'd be more willing, I think, to vote Caroline than Gabe or Sue voting each other.
Yeah. That's very fair.
Yeah. Um but yeah, that I think oh yeah, we gotta do confessionals. We didn't do confessionals yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So Asia voted out here. She ends with 20 confessionals.
Solid number.
Pretty good for a third boot. Um
Yeah.
So far, the three people who've been voted out, by the way, have great numbers for their respective boots of 9, 12, and 20.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's like 10 times what some people have in the game right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sam is still in the lead with confessionals with 23 confessionals. Then we got a tie with Rome and Gabe at 21 confessionals. Um,
Okay.
and then we got Andy with 16 confessionals. Sue with 13 confessionals. Annika with 12 confessionals. Rachel with 11 confessionals. And then Tiana with 9 confessionals, but she got 0 confessionals this episode. She got nothing.
Yeah.
Only person with nothing. Um, and then Kyle has jumped up here with 8 confessionals. And then Kashawn with 6 confessionals, and Sierra with 6 confessionals, Soul with 4 confessionals, and lastly, Genevieve with 3 confessionals, which crazy. They just went to tribal council and still Genevieve only got 1 confessional. Soul only got 2 confessionals. Like
Yeah.
I
I know.
yeah,
This why? I mean, to be fair, if we're looking at my list, so like the people that were 2 and 3 on my thing was Sue and Teeny. Now I can see like Sue getting sniped early on, even though not just that, but also because of the villain vibe that she gives off as well. And Teeny, I feel like she was going to do good, but I feel like she could be someone that could be seen as doing good in the pre-merge. And so I was like, no, Genevieve got this. Also in this list was TK and Asia. All 6 of those people were people I was considering as my winner pick.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
it's
like
been
this.
it's been brutal. I'm not liking who's going out so far. I'm just gonna say this has not been like even if I didn't draft them, like these are people who I did not want to see go out. Just from a likability standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. But
uh,
we still got a lot more gameplay, and who knows? Maybe the confessionals come back. They all right. So right now we're at 15. There's 2 more until Earn the Merge, 2 or 3 more tribals before Earn the Merge, and then 4 more before we get to the jury phase. So our winner picks just have to survive 4 more tribal councils.
yeah, I was really hoping Rome and Lavu won at least one more immunity so that his idol could extend and he could be here at least till episode 5. But nope, now he's a little more vulnerable, but I
A
still think
little, but not by too much. He has to steal a vote.
and our winner picks are combined right now. Like
Yeah.
they're working together. That is what we have learned in this episode. Um
Yeah.
so and the steal votes, I mean if Rome knows that he's I do fear that is a little confident that he's got Teeny in his back pockets and Teeny, Kashan, and Soul vote him.
They could because it's like he has to play that before the votes. So it's like
Yeah.
it's definitely something where as long as he doesn't play it, it doesn't have power.
Mhm. Yeah.
So because he can't do it after the fact, you know. So as long as he feels super, super secure, he doesn't have to. As long as I feel like you have to tell him not before tribal council, but like
Yeah.
when it's all hypothetical of like be like, yeah, we can really use this once we get to the merge, or yeah, this will come in clutch, you know, if like we're coming in at a deadlock of 6-6, or like, you know, at least very much like tied up at like five. But you know, like there's ways around it to be like, you know, be like, all right, this is gonna be so clutch for us when we get to that phase of the game. Like
Yeah.
think of like, oh, we're gonna use it in the future.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. But we will find out what happens next week. Maybe it depends if they go back to tribal. We'll see.
It depends. What I find weird is they're talking about all this blood and like Sue being missing and stuff, and it's like that doesn't
Yeah,
look like blood.
that's the fakest that is the fakest blood I've ever seen. If you want to
Yeah,
call that blood.
I was confused. I'm like, that looks like it's definitely red pigmentation, but I wouldn't say that's blood. If it
Yeah.
is her blood, I'm like, I'd be concerned what's pumping through her veins.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll find out what that is in the next one. So we will see you all in the next one.
Peace.